welcome back. It's an absolute pleasure to have you out to the ranch. And yeah, I'm a bit cliche. I just watched literally almost 5 complete seasons of Yellowstone. And bizarrely, I had kind of wanted to watch it, never really given it the time. Thought it was a bit too cliche, sort of maybe touristy looking from what I'd seen on the internet. Love the show. It's a great show. And it really does sum up a lot of what ranching and cattle farming is about. Some of it, cattle farming, is relevant all over the world, whether it's the UK or whether it's Europe or whether it's South America, Canada, the US. I was just informing Mrs. Piper Doug we should sell up. There's a lovely little farm just 30 minutes from the actual Yellowstone Ranch. 190 acres of pastures and mountains and streams and buildings and just turnkey ready. Only 65 million US dollars. Yeah, at Jackson Hole. So, yeah, we might be moving in a month of Sundays. I don't know what they're doing down there. Weird. You know, they're heading for water. I don't know. Anyway, today is Thursday. I am going for gotta go and see a nurse about an injection. No, it's not a end of life injection. They're gonna put me down because of mad cow disease or something. I'm gonna get into the injection. This is my second one. I'm gonna get into the injection and what that's all about in a future video, but that's gonna be sort of on its own. Mrs. Piper Doug is still away on business. She will be back on Saturday. Yes, this is Thursday. I got a few things to do with the Bobcat today. I got a lot of things to do with the orange tractor. I got to move a lot of panels and do a lot of that stuff. I got to bed these guys. Well, first bed pack always never lasts very long, but they're alright. So yeah, I got to move all these panels here. I got to leapfrog them across that one and into that one because I cannot get out the back gate. I gotta finish going over the water troughs. Mrs. Piper Doug texted me the picture of the email for the bill from the He-Man Electricals that came out and serviced all the water troughs. I was pleasantly surprised. They came within the budget that I had figured, because the two of them came out the first time around, went over all the troughs, and then the one guy came back out to do the repair on that can arm, and yeah, like I said, well within budget, so I'm very happy with that. So going forward, that is what I'm hoping will be our arrangement. I think it's they want into the heated water trough because they don't want to walk all the way back to the dugout. You guys can walk your big bums back down to the dugout. Still lovely and warm out here. So I'm going to take off the grader off the orange tractor. Pardon me, it is quite chilly this morning. And like I said, at some point this afternoon I'm heading up the road. So we're going to back the crush in here because it parks by the gate. So when we wean the calves in this pen, we run them, scoot them through this gate, and then through this gate and into these pairs. So the crush actually does double duty. It sits here and it stops them from coming back to the gate because they'll go around the back side of it and stand on the back side of the crush and yell, mostly. But we'll have bales in here and they'll all be bedded up and all that good stuff. But once the calves are in, and then the calves are quite settled down, mums are settled down, mums go back out to the field. Once we get closer to the time when we're going to process and vaccinate the calves, we just run the crush forward and my long-term subscribers will know, we set the crush up at that gate post, and that way the animals either go heifers into that corral, or steers come back the way into this corral. And the reason for that is the steers will leave first, so they'll come back into this corral and then they'll go back into the chute and go when we're ready to ship them. So whether that's January or whether that's closer to the end of winter, we probably, well, it'll go by prices. Probably will be sometime in January, but it really depends on our buyer. But I was having a conversation with 3D Ranch. They're from just down the road in Delow. If you haven't watched them, get on over there. It's a really good ranch. They run quite a lot of head. I don't know exactly how many, but in their last video they just shipped 100 and something steers, and it's all Red Angus cross. So yeah, they must farm a lot of head, probably like 200 cow-calf pairs in around about. I don't know. He'll probably correct me in the comments, but. We got in a conversation about shrinkage. And no, that's not when you go into the North Sea in Scotland swimming, when the water kisses your undercarriage. Not that kind of shrinkage. But it's when they charge shrinkage on your animals. Now I get it. There's some people, and I have heard the tales, where some people pack their animals with salts and all kinds of awful things, like even sawdust with molasses. I've heard of that. But when you're a reputable ranch and the animals are obviously in good order, as they say in North Carolina, I still don't know why we get hit shrinkage. It's one of those really bizarre things. No one can give me a flat answer on that. It just seems like it's a bit of a kick. Now right now, where the prices are good, it's not as big of a kick, because, you know, it's cattle farming pencils out. But in the past, when margins were tight, yeah, it stung a lot more. So yeah, I'd like someone to maybe join me down in the comment section and discuss that, because I can't for the life of me get my head around that. Anyway, this video is actually, oh my gosh, it's almost 8 minutes long. Anyway, let's get about the day, because there's lots to do. Percolating. Big feeding day today. So I got to round up some boards for tomorrow. Jeremy's coming to start setting up the forms for our concrete pour. And you'll all be wondering the weird title of today's video this week, this part of the week. What's that about? Well, I've been on the hunt for this thing for a long time, and it's something that we used to own back in Scotland. And let's face it, it's practical, because at some point this year we found ourselves down a machine, and it was kind of stressful, because when you're down one of these machines on a ranch, yeah, you're in trouble. So without further ado, ta-da! This bike will be 40 years old next year. So on our 30th anniversary of moving to Canada, this bike will be 40 years old. And if you're looking as closely as I am, you'll be realizing that's in pretty good shape for a 40-year-old bike. Yes, it is, because I've been looking for one for a very long time, because we used to have one. We had a 125, then we had the 250 Big Red. Now this is not to be mistaken with the 200s. In Scotland, we didn't have 200s Big Reds. We had 250 Big Reds, or you had the 200 TCE or whatever it was called. It wasn't called a Big Red. So this came up and it was 20 minutes from the farm. Is it perfect? Not quite. But for 40 years old, take a look at that rack. You won't hear that said here very often. The headlight still works. The only thing that the seller was quite openly, hey Darcy, if you're watching, the caliper for the front brake cable is bent, which is fixable. There's a bit of a hole here, so the exhaust box was rotted out, which is not a huge deal. You can get them quite easily. Some of the stickers are a little bit tatty, but not an issue. Slight cracking up here on the fender, which is not a huge deal. But the funny thing is, I found out is you can get all the plastics for these. For whatever reason, you can't get the plastics for the quads aftermarket, but for the trikes you can, every one. So side panel and whatnot. Now it has had the tank bottoms repaired, and they seem to be really good. Like they're not wet, so whoever did it knew what they were doing. Runs like a champ. Reverse, all that stuff works. So outside of that brake, the exhaust box, missing this side panel, and the reverse red light won't come on, which is probably just a bulb. It's like, well, you're looking at it. So for what I paid, yeah, you would be hard pressed to buy tires for one of those new quads now for what I paid for this. And it's a Honda. Yeah. And the nice thing is, you can get a brand new tank quite cheap. The plastics, it'll cost you $500 or $600 to get the plastics, but these are not deathly in need of replacing anytime soon. So yeah, so there's Piper Doug's midlife crisis, and it's tax deductible, which is more than can be said for a convertible Mustang or whatever. So there we go. So we'll wait for the machines to percolate and get this little bad boy off. Moving panels. This is the downside to the fact that we've been buying panels from different places through the years. Unlike BCP making all of his own. These panels are all different varieties. We've got a bunch of Verdon Grant's Welding, those big heavy ones. And then we have a bunch of these lighter ones that we bought from a local cattle farm sale. So, yeah, they're mix and match. So, at some point I would like to bring gates and panels in and then unify the hookups, like how they all join together. But right now, we just use them as they're needed. So, this is the wall. For those who maybe don't know or new or don't remember, we do the weaning in this corral, and then from that post back over to the end of that panel, we make a bit of a funnel to that gate, and then we make a chute through and into the calf pen. So we feed mums and babies into this corral, we let them eat the bales right down, and then we process them at that gate. We let the mums back out to bales, and by that point we've already got these corrals set up. As you can see, the wall is already taking shape. I know my windows need cleaned. And while the mums are out eating, as they kind of start to realize the babies have been absconded with, we push the babies around the corner and into there, and then we close them in, because we'll give them enough food for 2 or 3 days. So then we'll wrap the whole pen in bales, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And then we'll get this pen ready that afternoon. We'll put more bales back in it, and then we'll let mums back in, and then we'll lock mums up. Unlike last year. Thank you for reminding me, everybody. Lock the cows up and lock the babies up. And yeah, and we'll have 3 days of racket, and then back to business as usual. Kind of used to racket because I got that big black mama looking at me going, I want more food. You got food. That's half a bale of number one you got sitting right there. You picked through the best of it. Well, now you got to eat the crust. Okay, let's get on. Yeah, you guys gonna have a hard time keeping up with this. I'm all over the place. Literally all over the place. So what are we doing back here? Well, yep, I came back here with a grater blade. So we do have an issue with this whole area. It was sort of like this, crowned, which we never thought would be an issue, but it's become an issue. So any moisture that would build up back here, especially with once the bales are back here, you get snowpack. When it melts, it goes into the pans. So I shaved it and pushed most of the stuff up that way, and then got it to where this is more sort of if it's anything, it is sloped. Some bits a little bit flatter, but for the most part it is sloped. But this sort of makes a berm, so for the most part it's hard to tell on screen, but for the most part this is higher than here. It's a little bit flat here, but the ground's so hard I couldn't get any more. It was just basically bouncing along here. But this will stop most of the moisture coming back in. Probably next season on the big repairs we will fill this whole area in, because it is, as you can see, quite low. One of the other repairs to do is to join the top of this wall to that wall to there, to lock it all together. That way we don't get a lot of slap. But I think I'd already talked about, I've got a whole bunch of repairs to do on this wall anyway. But I got to put a chain on this gate, and then we'll start putting the bales in here, and then that should be it for back here. Yeah, let's go. First of November. That's nice to see. They're all just chilling, laid out in amongst the long grass. No coyotes. Gonna haul a load of bales. We bit a hoarfrost this morning. Whew. It's not crazy cold, but a right pea super of fog though. Not as many leaves left, but on the pine needles. So Jeremy and his buddy are here setting up the forms for concrete. We'll show you that in a minute. And I gotta run fetch them a little bit more sand, gravel from our pit just to get the floor levels up. So yeah, it's an old pit. I don't know if they used it a whole bunch. Not a lot of binding in it. Mainly just small gravel and sand, which is great for doing small building jobs like this. But yeah, you wouldn't want to build roads with it. Top dress roads with it. There's not a lot of big rocks in it, which is good. But whenever it gets wet, it just turns to mush. So yeah, it's not great stuff, but for flattening the ground under concrete, mint. It's funny, you can actually see the layers of sediment. Huh. The gravel veins, sand, sort of a clay and gravel, more sand with some red stuff in it. Weird. This is me holding the camera level, so yeah, like where we live in Manitoba is on the edge of where the ocean used to come up to. There's a big lake. Because there's a big dinosaur dig in southern Manitoba, so this was where like the edge of the glacier stopped here, and then there was an ocean further south. So, hey, might strike oil or dinosaurs, you never know. Okay, another one of the little projects. I don't want to hear Harley. Is that scream fuzzy? There's one of the solid feeders there. I think I put one in the corner. I need 4 in here. So I've got a bar feeder here. I'm going to switch it out for either that one or this one. I want both of them because, like I said, I need 4 in there, 2 in the steer pens, 2 in the heifer pen, because I do not want bar feeders in with the calves. We lost a calf 2 years ago, just after weaning. Calf climbed in, went to climb back out, got its back leg stuck through the bars, the lower bars, and then another calf must have run into it, pushed it over something, snapped its legs, so we had to put it down. So we always make sure now, from now on, after that we put solid feeders in, not bar feeders, because if they can do it, they will do it. So because the reason to take these out of here, because most of these calves will not stay here in this pen for very long. There's only that wee beggar there in behind teens. He'll stay with mum for a little while, and then because no, it's not Squish, it's Squiggles. Where is Squiggles? Somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, and this is where my OCD is doing a number on me here. If you will see this, you'll be asking yourself, well, Piper Doug, what on earth did they put the shelter at that angle for? The shelter is perpendicular to this concrete. Yeah. Now technically it shouldn't really matter. They shouldn't. I far rather wish they had put the form parallel to the wall, and it doesn't matter about being perpendicular to the concrete. Doesn't really matter, but yeah, they had it done before I realized they had done this. Anyway, not a problem. The shelter will go in, and then I'll just make a railing to close that off. At some point we probably will be remaking this, because I think we're going to get a load of continuous rail, because I want to do that whole fence in continuous rail, and then we'll just replace these cables with railing as well. Just this way that when the shelter goes on here, and then the cattle door part will open out this way and the animals will go in. So we'll probably get into more of how that'll work when we get closer to it. So yeah, so there we go. Everybody's fed for today. I'm going to go and haul in some more gravel to backfill along the side of the farms. They need a little bit more at the end there, and we'll go from there. It's rather cold. We're not going to get quite to that 9 degrees that they said we were supposed to today, but tomorrow's supposed to be nicer, so I've got some work to do on that big shelter to get it stood up straight and jigged again. And yeah, we will get to getting. Thanks for watching, everybody. I am going to go haul gravel, and if anything happens, I'll bring you back. If not, we'll leave you here. Teddy bye. I've got to take that baler off. That's what I'm doing tomorrow when it's warm.